Hey guys! So I'm going to speak today about how my schizophrenia turned into a gift. Before I go into my story, I do want to say that Yale University, they did conduct a neurological research to prove that schizophrenia and spiritually gifted people were of the same minds. It's just that how they see the world is with a different lens. Either they see it as a haunting experience or they see it as a spiritual gift. I'm sharing this with you to be the living proof that you can switch over seamlessly. I'll tell you how I figured this out even before I found out about this research. Hi, I'm Jane, and for a very, very long time, I've been having visual and auditory hallucinations. I am a part-time teacher. I'm also an energy healer that tends to the physical, mental, emotional, and energetic bodies. I also worked in corporate for over 10 years in the tech industry. Schizophrenia is not a romantic story. It's disorientating, it's painful, and it's very lonely. I've been masking this for a very, very, very long time. My first visual and auditory hallucinations was when I was 3 or 4. I remember exactly the moment and the sensations that were passing through. I've never been diagnosed because I was masking it for such a long time. Not willingly, I thought everybody had this. The first time I opened up about it was in my late 20s. I said, "Does everybody have voices in their heads?" And she said, "Jane, no, I just have one, but for you, it seems like there's many." For a very long time, I didn't really know how to separate these voices away from mind. It wasn't just the voices, it was always the overwhelming feelings that took over. I grew up with a lot of suicidal thoughts. It started specifically when I was 9 or 10. Blooming thoughts of wanting to kill myself and finding different ways of how to make that come true. Luckily, I've always had music to soothe me out of it. And other forces, but I will share that in another video. I didn't know how to verbally materialize my experience, especially because I thought everybody was just going through the same thing. There was one event that was really big. I woke up with suicidal thoughts. I could see visions of me slashing my throat and my wrist and just blood coming out. And this was so daunting for me. This was the first moment, I want to say, where throughout the emotional wave of the fear and the scariness of these suicidal thoughts and scary visions, I learned how to regulate my breath, and I breathed through and I found my center. When I separated that energy away from me, I started hearing something. It was a woman's voice, and she said, "Me and my daughter were raped." I'm sorry, what? I don't have a daughter. At that point, I realized, okay, this is definitely not my story and this is not my emotion. So I need to step away from this and I need to learn how to set better boundaries. I didn't have the concept of boundaries at the time, but I think innately I just knew there needs to be something between me and these experiences. My solution was taking some time for myself just to meditate. I think by this point I had gone through a lot of therapy and energy healing modules. So I had learned it for myself as well, practiced on myself and friends to understand how to regulate my nervous system and how to work with my own mind. For most of that month, I just isolated myself and I went, okay, I know I have all these memories. Let me work through them again. There's something in there that I'm not seeing. By the way, my background is in tech infrastructure, looking through codes and understanding how to balance the system and clean up the data so it makes sense. So I kind of treated my mind in a way like an operating system. And as I'm processing these events, it became fascinating because before I would be working with quite tragic events or quite big events, and as I'm closing them down, I would find these memories that were lodged in between, which were like very happy, just feel-good memories that I'd completely forgotten because of the weight of everything else that I needed to process. And the effects of it were amazing because not only was I relieving my body of this emotional stress, I was getting my senses back. So let's say, for example, I have this obsession with jellies like Haribos, especially the sour ones, yummy. Before I would have to, let's say, eat like 10 of them to be satisfied. Because I was able to be more present, I would have a bite of this and it would just overwhelm me, like fireworks in my mouth. Who knew? I didn't know until it happened. After a good month, I realized that healing is about understanding that it's just processing things in a way that my mind and my body can actually settle with it. When I really understand my needs and my next steps. So as I'm settling into these thoughts, I was so ecstatic. I've been on this healing journey for over a decade, trying to find answers through other people, through just reading tons of scientific resources, articles, being a guinea pig for God knows what. God knows what. I'm done. Like, I will continue to process events healthily so I can do it real time, or maybe just like slightly delayed, not decades or years after. Like, this makes so much sense. And I thought, I'm going to close this chapter. And as I close this chapter, I would love to give this to other women just to spark their own journeys. So I went on a Facebook group. I was living in Bali at the time, and I posted sharing a little bit about my journey not too long. The essence of the message was, this is what I've gone through, and this is what I can do, what I can provide, and I'm looking just for 5 women to share with, and I'm closing my journey. I had an overwhelming request, and these experiences that I had were just mind-blowing. The basis of what I was sharing is called Reiki. Reiki is working with universal energy. I request to channel it through my own body, and then I channel it through to people. I chose to study this because this was my first introduction into receiving energy healing, and when I did receive it, it was just so much more powerful than years of therapy alone. Going back to these 5 women, I met the first lady. She was Swedish. I remember going to her place, and I was attending to her body, and I'm really ashamed to say this in some ways. Mindful, this is my first time treating a stranger. 1 or 2 minutes in, I'm, hovering my arms around, and the logic of Reiki is this. If you are channeling energy out of your body, out of your hands, it's pumping energy out. And as laws of physics go, wherever needs the most energy, your energy becomes attracted to. So we're just taught to observe the flow of the energy that courses through the body to find energetic blocks. So I'm watching this, and 2 minutes in, I'm like, okay, I see it, and I'm bored. Oops. I was going to provide a 45 minute session, and I had, 38 to 43 minutes left. Oh no. So in my head, I'm like, do. So I just said, hey babe, how are you? Not expecting an answer back. And then I heard, I'm okay, but I could be doing better. I know what my voice sounds like in my head. And this was not my voice. And it sounded very much like hers, like very soft. Mindful, I have the 43 minutes left. So I'm just like, okay, you know what? I'm going to lean in, and I'm just going to have this conversation in my head to occupy the space while I'm do. So along the body, there's a lot of energetic centers, and there's these main gateways called chakras. Different gateways mean different things. It's very close to biological scientific studies. So each gateways have different meanings. The root that I was starting at signifies foundation and family. So while I was tuning in there, I went, okay, you know what? I'm just going to imagine like a normal conversation that I would have with somebody. Okay, babe, so then tell me more about your family. How many of you are there? And she goes, we're a family of 5, and I'm the oldest of all my siblings. But my dad wasn't really present, so I had to be this male figure in my life. And it's really affecting my intimate relationships. After we worked on the family, then there's the sacral, which is all about creativity, your sexual energy, and then your solar plexus, your confidence, and blah, blah, blah. I'll explain this in another video. We're meant to close the sessions when a client is fully aligned, which means there's no more energetic blocks. It's kind of like getting a massage on your physical body. It's like, you have a stress point. Somebody can work it through by massaging it. Reiki is kind of the same thing for your energetic body. So work through the blocks, and then your energy is flowing. After she was aligned, I woke her up, and I asked her, I said, I felt and heard a lot of things during the session, and do you mind if I share it with you? And she goes, sure, of course. There was a lot of information. There was just, I don't know, maybe 5-10 minutes just coming through. I remember after I streamed, she just looked at me and she just started crying. Oh, I remember her name. She started crying and she said, I thought I came to you because of a breakup, but everything you say is a pattern that I have. If I look back now, this was a monumental moment. What do you mean these voices are real? What do you mean? So I'm distraught and I'm walking away, keeping my composure. After all, I'm in the position of someone who's taking care of someone, so I didn't really lose it. I just kept my composure and I just moved on. I knew that I had to power through. And I also had more women to cater to. The second experience was even more mind-blowing. My second client, she's American, and when I was working through her, I remember that she was a little bit more closed off and skeptical, but I still managed to get through. Before I was closing out the session, I remember hearing this really loud voice. And I had a vision of her also, and she said, "Adios mio, tell her it's Maria, tell her about Jose, tell her we love her, tell her this, tell her that." And I was just like, okay, please stop. It's so loud. And I started seeing even more a group of people, and there were just more men in the background, and she was just like the active voice. After I close the session, I'm sharing these details with her, and at one point I'm like, "Hey babe, do you know someone called Maria or Jose?" And she looks at me with a deadpan face. And she goes, "Maria's my dead grandmother, and Jose's my brother." What do you mean? What do you mean? I started having more and more people come and find me, and it's been amazing. It's been amazing to be a voice, to tune into their bodies, to tune into their soul, to have a conversation with them, not through their mind, just like their pure soul, and to tune into their bodies to hear what they need, and tune into the afterlife or the spirit world to come over and send messages. It's been an amazing journey. So I understand that I just have a wider frequency of what I can see and hear and feel and taste, or all these senses. This whole experience, opening up and sharing my gift, has been a tremendously life-changing experience. This is the message that I'm sharing. If you're struggling with the same thing that I used to struggle, and I remember how daunting it was and how haunting it was, and I really salute you for living with this. And I hope you found a way to be able to digest your experiences. And I'm a living proof that there is a way to transform this. I have tried medication at different points of my life, and all of them were more of suppressors that would put me in a haze to numb myself to these experiences. But these experiences have been so wildly beautiful. People need, and people are looking to connect deeper with themselves. It's for them, the messages were always coming in at the right time. So I'm happy that I'm sharing this. I'm happy that I'm finally understanding how monumental these moments were for me, and hoping that this can also be a turning point for anybody who listens. I'd love to hear any of your thoughts and comments. If you would like to listen to more, just hit subscribe.